The crystal spires of Serenity Prime trembled as another blast struck the planetary shields. Commander Lyra Valar pressed her blue-scaled hands against the comm console, watching shield integrity plummet to 30%. Her people were dying, and she knew it was only a matter of hours before the Vexar Empire shattered their defenses entirely. The Cathari had never been warriors. Their paradise world held floating crystal cities catching sunlight, scattering it into endless rainbows. Food grew without soil in sky gardens, and rivers climbed uphill along Antigra channels. Violence belonged only to ancient histories of a primitive age. They had believed all intelligent species would abandon war, but the Vexar Empire proved otherwise. 3 months ago, the first enemy ships appeared, demanding surrender. When the Cathari tried diplomacy, the aliens answered with fire. Their weapons cut crystal like acid through paper, their massive black warships bristling with spikes, built for terror as much as destruction. "Commander, Harmony Falls has gone silent," reported Zev Karlin, her aide. His normally bright green scales were pale with fear. "Vexar ground forces have taken the Crystal Gardens. They're advancing on population centers." Lyra closed her eyes, thinking desperately. The Peaceful Alliance had promised aid, but their nearest allies were 6 months away at top speed. The Cathari would be ashes before help came. "Prepare the emergency beacon," she ordered. "Broadcast on every frequency toward Alliance sectors. Tell them we need immediate military assistance. Tell them the Vexar Empire is committing genocide." The young comm officer, Finn, hesitated. "Commander, the beacon will take weeks to reach Alliance space, even at quantum speeds." "I know," Lyra said softly. "But we have to try. Maybe someone closer will hear. Maybe there are Alliance ships in deep space we don't know about. We have no other choice." The beacon launched, just as another blast rocked the command center. Lyra watched the tiny point of light vanish into the void, carrying what might be her people's last words: coordinates, population data, a desperate plea for help against an enemy they could never defeat alone. What Lyra didn't know was that a solar storm at the system's edge had twisted space with electromagnetic chaos. The beacon, meant for Alliance worlds, was snared by the storm's magnetic field and hurled toward an entirely different corner of the galaxy. For 3 days it raced across space before reaching a small yellow star with 9 planets, where strange metal stations floated in the darkness. Captain Jake Morrison was sipping coffee on the bridge of the UES Vengeance when Lieutenant Amy Patterson turned from her comm station, frowning. "Sir, we're picking up something unusual. A distress signal, but it's not using human protocols. The computer's translating, but the language is completely unknown." Morrison set down his mug and approached. Strange symbols flickered across the console, slowly becoming words. As the translation cleared, Morrison felt his blood run cold. "They're begging for military help," Amy said. "Some empire called the Vexar is attacking their homeworld. Sir, this might be humanity's first contact, and they're in serious trouble." The message contained star charts. The system was 40 light-years away. Vengeance could get there in under a week, but only with Fleet Command's approval. First contact was far too big for one captain to handle alone. "Priority channel," Morrison ordered. "Get me Admiral Sullivan, and analyze every byte of this message. I want to know exactly what we're walking into." Admiral Kate Sullivan appeared moments later, her stern face filling the main screen. A veteran of the colony wars, she commanded respect born from combat, not politics. "Captain, my staff says you received a message from outside human space," she said. Morrison explained quickly, showing the translated message and coordinates. Sullivan listened in silence, asking about translation accuracy, the alien homeworld's location, and the attackers. When he finished, she considered for a long moment. "This could be the most important event in human history," she said finally. "If these aliens are real and under attack, we can't ignore them. But we also can't send one ship into unknown territory alone." "Admiral, I recommend the 7th Battle Group," Morrison said. 12 ships. Enough firepower to handle almost anything. If the Vexar are as dangerous as this suggests, we'll need it." Sullivan nodded. "Authorized. Investigate and assist if necessary. But Morrison, trust no one until we understand the situation. If it's a trap, get our people out fast." "Understood, Admiral. We'll jump within the hour." As the screen faded, Morrison turned to his crew. Their faces showed a mix of nerves and excitement. First contact, alien life, the chance to prove humanity belonged among the stars. Patterson, alert the 7th Battle Group, Morrison ordered. Departure in 1 hour. Full combat readiness, but we go as peacekeepers, not conquerors. And get me everything on that system. 3 hours later, 12 warships vanished into hyperspace, headed for a dying world of crystal cities, never expecting rescue from the 3rd planet of a distant yellow sun. At the Cathari system's edge, the human fleet emerged in perfect formation, 12 ships arranging themselves in a defensive posture, prepared for peace, ready for war. On the Vengeance Bridge, Captain Morrison studied the tactical display. Multiple orbital stations detected around the 4th planet, Amy reported. The surface appears heavily damaged. Populated with glittering cities seemingly carved from crystal, the planet showed signs of heavy damage. Weapons fire detected, Amy reported. Wreckage from destroyed ships in orbit as well. Morrison nodded, watching sensor data stream across the display. Even from this distance, the alien world was stunning, its crystal towers scattering light into shifting rainbows. Yet burned scars marked the surface where cities had fallen, and dead satellites drifted through space like broken teeth. Sir, 50 Capital-class vessels detected on the far side of the planet, called Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks at Weapons. Unknown configuration. Power readings suggest heavy armament. That must be the Vexar fleet, Morrison muttered. Any sign of the aliens who sent the beacon? Multiple orbital stations transmitting, Amy said. Language matches the distress signal. Should I open a channel? Morrison exhaled slowly. This was the moment history would remember. The first conversation between humanity and another intelligent species. Every word mattered. Open the channel, he ordered. Standard first contact protocols. Tell them we answered their call. The main display flickered, then resolved into a crystal-walled command center. A tall figure with blue scales and jewel-like eyes stood at its heart, surrounded by others of her kind, watching with fear and hope. This is Commander Lyra Velar of the Cathari Collective, the alien said through the translator. We sent a distress beacon to the Peaceful Alliance, but we have never seen your species before. Are you Alliance military forces? Morrison stepped forward, letting them see him clearly. A tall man with gray eyes, weathered scars, and a uniform marked by years of combat command. Commander Velar, I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Space Forces, he replied. We are not part of your alliance, but we received your call. We are here to help. Lyra exchanged rapid words with her officers, then turned back, uncertainty in her eyes. Captain, your ships are unlike any alliance vessels. They look designed purely for war, not exploration or diplomacy. Are you certain you can stand against the Vexar Empire? A faint smile touched Morrison's face. To the Cathari, warships were rare. To humanity, they were survival itself. Commander, he said, we come from a world where everything tries to kill you. We build for war because we've had no choice. If peaceful people are under attack, then stopping those attackers is what we do best. Before she could respond, alarms wailed across the Cathari control room. Officers shouted, displays flashing red. Captain, Lyra said, fear tightening her voice. The Vexar fleet is moving. They're coming around the planet. Our last defenses will fall. Then they will burn our cities from orbit. Morrison turned sharply toward Colonel Ryan Carter at Tactical. Colonel, analysis? Sir, the Vexar ships are large, powerful, but predictable, Carter said. Straight-line approach, no evasive tactics, no complex maneuvers. They're used to enemies who surrender or run, Morrison nodded grimly. He had seen this before. Pirates, slavers, tyrants who mistook fear for victory until someone fought back. Commander Velar, he said firmly, move your orbital stations clear of the combat zone. My fleet will engage the Vexar, but your civilians must be safe. Lyra's blue scales paled. Captain, you have only 12 ships. They have 50, each twice your size. This is suicide. With respect, ma'am, Morrison replied, voice like steel. You have no idea what human warships can do. We've been fighting since before we tamed fire. Size isn't everything. Now move your people clear. Let us handle this. As the Cathari stations retreated, the human fleet spread into attack formation. The Vexar warships came into visual range at last, towering black shapes bristling with spikes and weapons, built for fear as much as destruction. Weapon ports bristled across the Vexar ships, designed as much for terror as for destruction. Their fleet formation was tight, overwhelming, the kind meant to crush resistance with numbers alone. On the lead Vexar command ship, War Leader Thakmor watched the tiny human force with amused contempt. A towering creature clad in layered armor, multiple clawed arms flexing, he had conquered worlds by appearing with unstoppable firepower. Only 12 ships, Thakmor growled to his officers. Either very brave or very foolish. They will die quickly, and then the Cathari will burn. But as the human fleet advanced, his amusement faltered. They weren't forming a defensive wall. They weren't retreating. Instead, the small ships scattered with impossible speed, breaking into multiple attack vectors until the entire Vexar fleet was surrounded. War Leader, his weapons officer said nervously. They are not fighting like any enemy we have faced before. The first strike came from 3 directions at once. UES Vengeance and 2 destroyers dove from above, 4 ships hammered the flanks, and the rest knifed in from below. It was a perfectly timed assault no single commander could counter. Focus fire on their flagship, Thakmor roared. But before targeting locks completed, the Vengeance vanished from sensors, rolling through space in impossible maneuvers while firing precise bursts into Vexar systems. At tactical, Colonel Ryan Carter's voice cut across the human fleet. Hit their comm arrays first. No coordination, no fight. Then engines. Then weapons. The humans weren't trying to kill. They were dismantling the enemy piece by piece. From the carrier decks, Lisa Brooks launched fighter squadrons like angry hornets. Wolf Squadron, take those sensors offline. Viper Squadron, engines on those 3 ships moving toward the planet. Move! The Vexar's heavy guns struggled to track the swarming fighters. Each pilot using tactics born in Earth's storm-filled skies, rolling, dodging strafing weak points larger ships couldn't hit. On his flagship, Thakmor felt control slipping. Half his warships were drifting, weapons dead, engines dark. How are they doing this? He demanded. Our armor is the strongest in the galaxy. Our guns kill planets. How can 12 ships defeat us? War Leader, his officer said grimly. Their weapons are not breaking armor. They are striking every weakness, communications, targeting, propulsion. They know exactly where to hit. On the Vengeance, Morrison watched calmly as the battle unraveled. Send them terms, he ordered. Surrender or we keep dismantling them until nothing's left. Thakmor's snarling face appeared on the screen. You cannot defeat 50 ships with 12. We are the Vexar Empire. We have conquered countless worlds. Morrison's voice was ice. Then retreat or be erased. Your empire means nothing here. Thakmor cut the link and ordered his fleet to concentrate fire. But the Vengeance was already gone, sliding through space before enemy guns could lock on. Human missiles struck with surgical precision. One by one, Vexar ships lost power, weapons, control. None lost life support, but all were left helpless. From her station, Commander Lyra Valar stared in awe. The human ships moved like predators, weaving through the massive enemy fleet, tearing it apart with terrifying efficiency. It's like watching wolves bring down prey 10 times their size, Zev Karlin whispered. Lyra nodded slowly. They fight not for glory, but to protect. Every move ends this battle faster. Fewer deaths, maximum effect. 30 minutes in, half the Vexar fleet was gone or disabled. The rest began fleeing, captains realizing retreat was better than annihilation. War Leader, Thakmor's tactical officer said bitterly. We must withdraw. We stay, we lose everything. Thakmor stared at the tactical map, his proud fleet scattering, wrecked, hunted by ships 1/4 their number. He had never imagined defeat like this. One by one, the last Vexar ships vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind the Empire's shattered pride. On the Vengeance bridge, Morrison watched sensors clear. 12 human ships, 50 Vexar warships, 1 hour. The Vexar Empire, broken. Damage report, Morrison ordered as the crew checked systems. The battle's silence almost deafening after the chaos. The human fleet had taken remarkably little damage, thanks to superior speed and tactics. "Minor hull damage on 3 ships, sir," Colonel Carter reported. "No casualties. All vessels remain fully operational. The enemy never landed a solid hit." Morrison nodded, turning to Amy Patterson at Communications. "Send Commander Valar a message. Inform her the threat is neutralized and request permission to dispatch a diplomatic team to her station." 2 hours later, Morrison was aboard the Cathari orbital station, walking through corridors of crystal that glowed with their own inner light. The station's beauty stunned him. Walls reflected rainbows, floors radiated warmth, every surface crafted for comfort and harmony rather than war. Commander Lyra Valar greeted him in a chamber where a single flawless crystal table dominated the room. She was tall, graceful, her blue scales shifting hue with emotion. Her large eyes held curiosity and unmistakable gratitude. "Captain Morrison," she said as they sat, "thank you for saving my people, but I do not understand how you defeated the Vexar so easily. They have conquered dozens of worlds. Their technology surpasses anything the Peaceful Alliance has built." Morrison accepted a cup of something tasting faintly of flowers and considered his words. "Commander, your people and the Alliance evolved in safety. Cooperation solved your problems. Negotiation brought peace. My species comes from a far harsher place." He activated a device, projecting Earth in orbit. Blue, green, serene. "Our home world looks peaceful. It isn't. The surface teems with threats. Storms leveling cities, animals hunting in packs, tearing apart prey, diseases erasing populations. Even plants poison the careless." Lyra studied the hologram, astonished. "Your entire planet is hostile to life?" "Not hostile," Morrison corrected. "Challenging. We learned to fight or die. For millions of years, survival meant sharper weapons, smarter tactics, tighter cooperation. War became second nature because it had to." Dr. Helen Murphy, part of the diplomatic team, examined readings on her scanner. "Commander Valar, may I ask about your world's environment?" Lyra gestured. Another hologram appeared. Serenity Prime, perfect and still. "Our world is paradise. The climate never changes. No predators, no poisons. No disasters. Food grows in abundance. We evolved to share, not fight. There was never scarcity," Dr. Murphy nodded thoughtfully. "That explains the difference. No evolutionary pressure to wage war, while humans endured constant pressure to master it just to survive." Morrison leaned forward. "Commander, your way of life is admirable. The galaxy needs species who build beauty, who cooperate. But sometimes you also need those who fight when peace collapses." As if to prove him right, Amy Patterson's voice crackled through Morrison's communicator. "Captain, we are—" Multiple distress signals now poured in from across the sector. The Vexar Empire had expanded for months, attacking at least 15 worlds. Morrison turned toward Lyra, whose scales had faded to pale gold. "Commander, would your people help us coordinate a response? We can handle the fighting, but we'll need intelligence on Vexar positions and the locations of other peaceful species who might need aid." Lyra was silent for a long time, troubled by what he asked. The Cathari had always avoided war. Helping plan battles defied everything they believed about civilization. "Captain," she said at last, "if we help, we abandon our principles of peaceful resolution. How can we justify joining a military campaign even against the Vexar?" Morrison understood her hesitation. He had faced the same questions many times. "Commander, sometimes the most peaceful act is stopping those who harm innocents. We're not asking you to fight, only to help protect others who can't defend themselves," Dr. Murphy added softly. "Your technology for communication and coordination is unmatched. Combined with human military skill, we could build a defense network protecting dozens of worlds." Lyra walked to a crystal window overlooking her planet below. Cities were already rebuilding, new crystal towers rising where Vexar attacks had scarred the surface. Her people were resilient, but never warriors. "If we agree, what would this partnership involve?" she asked. "Intelligence sharing," Morrison replied. "Your networks could track Vexar fleets and link other species into our defense grid. No fighting required, only support." Lyra turned back, scales now bright silver, a sign of deep thought. Captain Morrison, I have one question. Your species fights with terrifying efficiency, but what happens after you win? Do you conquer the worlds you save or leave them free? Morrison smiled faintly, the first time since arriving. Commander, we fight for freedom, not empire. Every world we defend stays independent. That's a promise. Her scales shifted gold again as she decided. Then yes, Captain. The Cathari Collective will help coordinate this defense, but only to save lives, not glorify war. Morrison extended his hand. Commander, this partnership will change everything. 6 months later, the name human had become the Vexar Empire's worst fear. Admiral Kate Sullivan commanded a joint task force of Earth ships and vessels from 17 species, united under the Human Defense Pact. Human tactics combined with alien technology proved devastating against the Vexar war machine. The final confrontation came at the Vexar capital, where war leader Thakmor gathered every surviving ship. He stood in his command center, surrounded by reports of defeat, watching the approaching Allied fleet. They're only one species, Thakmor growled to his scarred officers. We ruled 3 generations, conquered 100 worlds before these Deathworlders left their planet. How do primitives challenge all we've built? His tactical officer, Kelar, studied the sensors nervously. War leader, the humans fight like no one else. They don't seek glory or conquest. They fight to end threats, and they're very good at it. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, led by Morrison aboard UEES Victory. Around him flew ships from the Cathari Collective, the Zahirian Republic, the Crystal Builders of Harmony, and dozens more, species given hope by human protection. Morrison studied the vast Vexar fleet surrounding their capital world. 200 warships, the largest he had ever seen. But size alone had never decided human wars. Significant defenses detected, reported Commander Amy Patterson, promoted for her work linking Allied communications, multiple orbital platforms and a planetary shield generator. Colonel Ryan Carter, now Fleet Tactical Coordinator, smiled grimly. They've built defenses expecting brute force. They still don't understand how humans fight. Morrison activated the fleet channel. All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. Today we end the Vexar threat. Remember, precise strikes only. We are not here to destroy their civilization, only their ability to harm others. Commence the attack. The fleet split into smaller groups, each with targets assigned. Major Chris Taylor led ground assault units while Commander Brooks directed fighter squadrons weaving through enemy fire like living things. Human ships struck the orbital defenses with precision, disabling platforms one by one instead of overwhelming them. Lyra Velar, aboard a Cathari coordination ship, watched as her people's crystal networks linked the entire Allied force in real time. They're targeting the planetary shield, she reported. Sensors show 3 weak points. Thank you, Commander, Morrison said, steering toward the objective. Zahirian teams, prepare to hit the power grid once we open a path. Standing by, came the Zahirian captain's reply. The joint strike showed terrifying efficiency. Human ships cut openings. Zahirian EMP weapons disabled systems, Cathari sensors guided every shot. War leader Thakmor watched his empire unravel. Human precision outmaneuvered every defense. Worse, the so-called peaceful species now fought beside them. How did they turn the weaklings against us? He demanded. Kalar studied the flawless coordination on his screens. War leader. The humans taught them fear is not invincible. Bullies can be beaten. On UEE's Victory, Morrison directed the final phase as ground teams prepared to land. Major Taylor had trained mixed squads, human soldiers and alien specialists, to disable defenses without harming civilians. Remember, Taylor ordered, we are not conquerors. We neutralize their military, capture leadership, leave civilian areas untouched. The assault was swift and surgical. Vexar forces, built to terrorize civilians, crumbled before trained soldiers who fought like one mind. Within 6 hours, the capital fell. Thakmor, cornered in his bunker, faced Major Taylor flanked by human troops and alien tech teams seizing military records. War leader Thakmor, Taylor said formally, you are under arrest for crimes against peaceful species. Your military is defeated. Your empire's aggression ends today. Thakmore studied the young human soldier, seeing both defiance and respect. Your species fights as if the universe itself is your enemy. How? Taylor's reply spread across the galaxy. War leader, where we come from, the universe is our enemy. We learned survival comes not from cruelty or size, but from protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The war ended. The Human Defense Pact became the galaxy's peacekeeping shield. Earth served as headquarters for the Coalition, while the Vexar Empire, disarmed and rebuilt, joined galactic civilization. Ambassador Lyra Valar often recalled how one distress signal changed everything. The Cathari learned peace sometimes required allies who excelled at war. The wrong species answered their call for help, and it became the best mistake the galaxy ever made.